Now to the fight against COVID-19, and let's hope this week looks up for Dallas County because the past week was the deadliest yet. Here's Eric Alvarez.
The seriousness of COVID-19 is setting in throughout Dallas County, where an overwhelming majority of shoppers are wearing masks, following a county order requiring residents visiting essential businesses or using public transportation to wear masks or cloth coverings to prevent the spread of COVID-19. County officials say these tighter restrictions are more important now than ever, as this community closes out the deadliest week of the coronavirus outbreak so far. To put that into context, the last 7 days saw more COVID-19 deaths than all the other weeks combined in Dallas County. The steady rise led Dallas County Judge Clay Jenkins to tweet, "This is why we must limit unnecessary trips, wear a cloth covering at essential business, and continue making good personal responsibility decisions. It's also why we must listen to public health officials as leaders contemplate loosening safety orders." He's referring to leaders like Governor Greg Abbott.
We believe that all stores in Texas should be able to operate retail to go beginning next Friday.
You can't close America!
The move comes with tensions growing in Austin, where protesters are calling for business to reopen. With that possibly coming in a matter of days, both here and across the country, CDC Director Dr. Robert Redfield tweeted Saturday, "As we begin to reopen state by state, people will need to maintain mitigation strategies, frequent hand washing, social distancing, wearing face coverings when in public to keep the vulnerable safe." Closer to home, people are covering up while they stock up, uncertain of what next week will bring. In Dallas, I'm Eric Alvarez.
So for a North Texas perspective, Tarrant County reports 54 new cases and 3 new deaths. That brings the total to over 1,200. Collin and Denton counties both reported 1 new death each, and Denton County 7 new cases. Finally, Dallas County saw its highest daily increase in cases so far at 134 new cases just yesterday. That brings the total to more than 2,300. Dallas County Judge Clay Jenkins tweeted last night a deal made with the Department of Health and Human Services will allow the county to test 100 more people daily. So he didn't say when that would start, but the tests will be reserved for nursing homes and other mobility challenge populations. The Washington Post reports a delay by the CDC in quickly making coronavirus test kits available. That was the result of a glaring scientific breakdown at the central lab. Now that Post reports CDC facilities that assembled the testing kits violated sound manufacturing practices, resulting in contamination of one of the 3 test components used in the highly sensitive detection process. Now, a former CDC officer who now works at Galveston tells us the Post the situation was really a terrible black mark on the CDC, and the impact was devastating to the country. So we're waiting for reaction from the agency. A key hurdle for reopening large portions of the country comes down to testing. Roughly 3.5 million Americans have been screened for COVID. That's only 1% of the population. Several governors say they need more supplies and federal help to get it all done.